Welcome everyone. How's everyone doing today? I hope everyone's having a wonderful day. It's been a good morning for me so far. Actually been doing up notes from, I had a all afternoon meeting yesterday on called the Developer Summit. So basically I got all my developers together and we talked a lot about, what we need to be working on several things. I tell you, it was a really good conversation. Hey Sam, how's it going? Thank you for the follow. So sure enough, like I said, it was a really good conversation. I think one of the best parts was, during one point we were talking about how we need to do more unit testing, and someone came out and admitted, I don't really understand mocking. And I know we need to understand that more, right? And the point I want to make to everyone here is you definitely be honest with each other, in your teams. By him saying, making that comment, everyone else realized, none of us are really very good at mocking. And so we talked about, well, we need to work on that. We need to work on some training for that and make that better. So with that all being said, I do want to move on to back to rebuilding the Code PaLOusa website. So if you recall yesterday, for those who were on here yesterday, we got the user stories created, at least the initial set, and we got our Cosmos database created. So that's good to go. Now we're going to start writing a little bit of code. Nothing too exciting today, but we're going to start working on the entities themselves. So what are they going to represent? And what I want to work on today is the sessions and speakers, right? Because again, first thing I need launched, when I launch this new site is that information and, the schedule. And so everyone can see who's speaking and when they're speaking. So they can see whether or not they're actually interested in coming to our conference. So let's go ahead and move over to our screen. And I want to start off with, so as I talked about, before I actually moved to that, because I was on this page a little bit ago, I want to give a quick plug for Microsoft Build. So Build's always had a virtual component, but now it's completely virtual because of COVID. And for those who don't know, Microsoft actually, they've canceled all in-person events through July of next year. All right, so they're taking it extremely seriously. But so, they're going to have a 48-hour experience, and it's really neat because they're going to do like sessions 3 times with 8 hours apart or something like that. So that all the different time zones across the world will be able to benefit with live sessions. So definitely, if you haven't registered for Build, it's free. So I highly recommend you do that. It's definitely a great way to learn what Microsoft is working on. I can tell you, learn some things at the MVP Summit that they should be announcing at Build. Some really neat things. I'm really excited to hear the announcements they're going to be making about .NET 5. As an MVP, we have received some previews of that, and I was really excited to hear the .NET 5 overview at the MVP Summit. And I can't wait for everyone else to be able to hear what they've got coming up. It's some really, really cool stuff. I think it really is going to be a game changer in what they are doing. All right. So done with that. So what to talk about. So as I mentioned on the first day, I'm going to use Cosmos, but in Cosmos, let's just go real quick to the Cosmos documentation. Within Cosmos, I think what I want is here. Yeah. So right here, this part where they're talking at the top here, you have different data models you actually can use. You don't have to use the same thing. It is definitely good. Sam, it is definitely really good to see you, Sam. One of the great things about all this live stream is I still get to see you virtually. All right, Sam's one of the people I definitely miss not seeing in person because of not being able to go to conferences. For those who don't know, Sam, he works with Progress. Definitely check out. I'm drawing the blank on the name of the live stream right now. It's Live at Code, I believe. Definitely check that out. They do some really cool stuff on there. So going back to Cosmos. Cosmos, I mean, normally everyone thinks about Cosmos, they think of SQL, right? Because that is what normally you would think when you're thinking about this. And SQL would be the SQL, a SQL syntax that you can use to address a document database. It's actually based originally off of DocumentDB. Sam, I'm sorry you got bumped by the. I probably have the things a little bit too tight. Here, that's actually real quick. Yeah, Code It Live. I was going to look it up because I was drawing a blank. It is, yeah, Code It Live. Definitely, like I say, check that out. They do some really great things on there. And there, I think this is probably a replay from yesterday where they were.
All right.
They were doing
looks like we are back.
Their all-day live coding. All right, so going back to this. So sure enough, in here, so you have SQL, but what I want to use, I'm going to use Gremlin. And so I've been, Gremlin's a graph database. I've been using graph databases for about 4 years now. Yeah, it's around 4 years ago when I first got introduced to Gremlin. Kind of funny story how I got introduced to them. I was with a company where our database was atrocious. I mean, I had seen bad databases in my time. That one took the cake. And I mean, for example, we had one table that had I think it had 1,400 columns on it and growing. There was actually code within the application that when something would happen, it would actually add columns to this table. And sure enough, if you had asked me before I joined this company how many tables could a SQL database have, I wouldn't have known, but I wouldn't have told you. I probably would have said 256 doesn't sound like enough, so probably 1024. It is actually 2048. I actually did a calculation. I'm like, well, in this amount of time, it was a couple of years, but we were going to run out of columns in there, especially as the company grew. So we need something better, and we hired out a company to do some analysis, and they came back with analysis, and basically, our president of the company is a little bit scared of the price tag to do this fix. It was basically a little bit more and 3 times as much as what he was expecting. And so he reached out to some of his friends, and they were like, "Oh, you need to go to NoSQL." All right. I gotta admit, before this, I never really even looked at NoSQL. I'm a relational guy. Give me my relational databases. Give me my T-SQL. Right. But I was kind of getting pressured, because now president's friend is telling me, we need to go to a NoSQL database. So being a Microsoft guy, I start looking at Cosmos. And I'm looking at okay, this is interesting. This isn't too bad. But then I saw Gremlin. And sure enough, the data we had there was extremely connected, right? It was very hierarchical. And the more hierarchical your data is, the better a graph database is. So we built that solution using Gremlin. It was a really nice solution. So bringing it up to why I want to use this Code PaLOusa. Well, so most of the site really doesn't need the benefits of a graph database. But what I want to do, I want to be able to do recommendations. And that is one of the things that something like Gremlin can actually excel at, right? Because of the pattern matching it uses. Because I want to, you're looking at this session and I want to say, oh, you were interested in that session. You'd probably be interested in these 3 other sessions, right? So, long story short, I want to use Gremlin. And sure enough, just to look at the Gremlin documentation here, we can see in here what I really want, not that, in my quick starts. That's what I'm looking for. If we look at .NET Framework or Core application, right? And you can see in here, it talks about creating your database, which we've created the account. I haven't created the actual database. But here you can start seeing where they're talking about creating this graph. So I create the graph. And here, you still have your partition key, you still have your graph ID, and so forth. But then they show a very simple way of doing this. They're just creating properties directly. I forgot that is the way how they show this here. This isn't normally how I do it. I normally create some objects in here. Sure enough, for the longest time, I was using gremlin.net.cosmosdb, which is an open source project. Actually does a decent job of taking an entity object, right? And don't think of necessarily any framework, but just an entity, a plain, a POCO class with properties, getters and setters, and then allowing me to access a Gremlin database with that, and in particular Cosmos. Unfortunately, this is not being supported anymore. The guy who ran this, basically, he's like, look, I was doing this for work. I don't have that work anymore. I'm not going to be updating this anytime soon, and which is a shame. And I gotta admit, I've debated, do I maybe fork this, and because there are definitely some improvements I would like to see, but found this other project here. So XRAM Gremlin Cube. Now I haven't even tried using this yet, but in here, I mean, just looking through the sample code, I see more of what I was looking for, right? I mean, we can see the classes being created, or we see everything being created. It's still not necessarily doing complete. I mean, we do see some objects in here. So anyway, I do want to start looking at that. So that's what we're going to be trying to use. So again, as I mentioned my very first time, I mean, this is hopefully I'm teaching you all, but also I'm learning at the same time from both ways. All right, so let's start talking about what do we need in here. Now, sure enough, again, if we look at the current site, I mean, I have a ton of entities. I mean, again, I admit this is not the prettiest web application I've ever built. But if we go to the entities class here, you can see I have pretty much everything you could think of, all right? To include, and you got to remember, part of this was we were also building out the call for speakers, and as I've mentioned before, we've moved that off to Sessionize. But I do want to use this as an example, right? So I mean, if we look at a session, there we go. And for those who hate regions, I'm sorry, I do use regions from time to time. But if we go in here, let's just look at our property methods to start off with. So we can see in here, right? So we have an ID, we have an event ID, event details, title, and so forth, right? Kind of want to do the same thing. Actually, this does remind me, I'm glad I'm looking at this. What I really need to start off with is my event detail, because everything actually drives off of that. So actually, we need to create this one first, or recreate this, I should say. So sure enough, when we look at event detail, we have name, code, tagline, about, event status ID, event status name, event status, location, and so forth. So let's take a look at this. We're not going to go exactly what's got on here, but I think we can definitely use some of this. So let me. What I haven't done, I need to actually clone the project from GitHub. So let's go in here, go to our Code PaLOusa project, and dismiss that. All right, and again, I admit I am not a GitHub master at all. But I know let's see, I need to create a branch, so we're going to create a develop branch. So I definitely want the idea of, we check into develop, and then, master remains the production site once this gets to that point. So there, we've got that. Now I can go ahead and clone this. So we'll copy that. And now I'll open up a new copy of our new instance of Visual Studio. And we're going to clone the repository from there. And then I'm going to put this, it's going to go, now I should, let's see here, my D drive, repos, and we'll create a new folder called tail learn code. Select folder. Actually, I'm going to put in Code PaLOusa. Actually, I'm just going to call it CPL. I like my repo name or my repo folders. I like creating them as small as possible. Every once in a while, still Visual Studio sometimes chokes on long paths. Maybe that's actually finally cleaned up, but I still remember days when it wasn't. So let's go ahead and clone this. And I gotta admit, this is the first time I've ever in Visual Studio cloned a project from GitHub. So let's see how this works. That is Source Control Explorer from the others. Let's see, did it actually? I think I got everything. I mean, there really isn't much in there yet. The repos, tail learn code, CPL, yeah, there we go. It is all there. All right. Oh yeah, there's my message right there. So now, bring back the start window. Now let's open a local folder and go to tail learn code, CPL. Now select that folder. And now we're in that folder. There we go. So now the first thing I want to do, I want to create a source directory. Add new folder, source. Okay. I need to create tests and those other folders, but right now I'm just going to create my source. And then we're going to, then from there, we're going to add new project. So I need to create I'm going to create my solution first. You don't really have to create your solution, your blank, a blank solution first. This is just the way how I prefer to do this. And I do see this every once in a while. Something with Visual Studio, I don't know what it is. Let me try closing the folder. Create a new project. It's still not going to do that. I've seen this with Visual Studio before, where that blank solution won't show up. So we'll just open up, we'll just reopen up Visual Studio. Now I'll create a new project. Now I have my blank solution. I notice when I clone a project and then I try to, like do a blank solution or something, it seems to have problems with this. All right, so sure enough now, so we're just gonna call this code, we're gonna call this the Code PaLOusa solution, all right? And I'm gonna put this where on my D drive, repos, tail learn code, CPL. I'm gonna put this, and I'm not putting this in the source folder. Weird comment there. Oops. So and that's just the way how I prefer to do this. So I'm gonna now close that solution. And now I'm gonna open the folder up. And so Visual Studio always creates a folder for you. I'm gonna go ahead and just move that solution to the main directory area. This is the way how I prefer to do this. I like having my solutions separate from everything. And then, because like I say, it's going to tie in tests and utilities and all that good stuff. I like it up here in the master area. So I'm going to create that. Now, we're going to go ahead and we're going to create a new project. And now this will be a class library. Here's where I need to make a decision. Yeah, we're going to do this. I was debating trying to do this in .NET 5. All right, which of course is in preview. And actually the reason why I'm not going to is it's just because it won't be go live anywhere. I mean, it won't go live until after Code PaLOusa, right? And while I'm not really that concerned about support on the Code PaLOusa, I'll do some other things with .NET 5 because I do want to play with it And again, especially probably after build announcements come out and some other features come out. All right, so what we're going to do is we're going to do a class library. And we're going to call this, CPL dot entities. And I'm just, I'm going to just abbreviate Code PaLOusa CPL. It's a common abbreviation anyways. And then we're going to make sure this goes to source. And we're going to create, I'm just giving that one more little thought. Yeah, actually, I am going to call this Code PaLOusa. Naming's hard. All right, and there we go. We're now in here now. Because we got a new project, I need to go to properties. And there we go. So our assembly name's good. Actually, our default namespace is fine. I am going to leave this. I'm going to leave it in .NET Standard 2. I'm going to leave it at 2 right now. I don't think I'm not going to be doing anything, especially on this one, that needs 2.1 support. Do want to make sure I want to go to the package, because this will become a package that will consume in other things. So Code PaLOusa.entities works just fine. We're going to create the 000 alpha. And that alpha flag, so when you go to get your packages and you want the stuff that hasn't been published, stick a dash something. You can put whatever text you want. But at this point it's alpha, so I'm gonna call it alpha. Okay, so author is gonna be tail learn code. Anyway, I'm gonna put my name here, and then the company will be tail learn code. Actually, the company is Green Events in Technology. That is the parent company for Code PaLOusa, for tail learn code. Basically anything I do, that's the property. All right, the product is going to be Code PaLOusa. Code PaLOusa. And then our description is going to be entity items or entity objects used by the Code PaLOusa web or just applications. All right, I'm going to copy my copyright from somewhere else because I never remember how to create that copyright symbol. Should have it in here though. If I remember where it is. Why is it not? Oh, okay. No. Oh, that's right. It's no. Oh yeah, it's in here. This is what I'm looking for. So this is part of the reason why I need to get off this. I keep on forgetting where things, things are in different places, and I'm a C# developer now, not a VB developer. Although I still wish VB won out. All right, so our copyright is from 2020, and now it's going to be by Green Events and Technology, LLC. And then our project URL, let's go ahead and get that, just so we have this complete. Oops, and so that's going to be the URL. And I'm not going to worry about the other stuff. I still put this assembly in neutral language. There used to be, I don't even remember why, but there used to be a reason to do this, and Microsoft heavily recommended you do this for packages. I don't even remember what the reason was. That was like probably 15 years ago. I still do that. I still set my assembly language. All right, so we're going to do that. So that's all great. The other thing I do want to turn on analysis, so make sure it's turned on. And I'm going to install the FXCOP analyzer. All right, so there, I'm going to get that installed. So that's great. All right, so we got that all done. One last thing we need to do is set this up. Because actually, the thing about the setting up there, it actually does not install the latest version. Come on. Of xcop, here we go. Or no, it does. Okay, now, oh yeah, see now we're at version 3. I'm going to go ahead and upgrade that version. They actually do quite a few upgrades to xcop. I've seen quite a few go up. I will say, for some reason, NuGet on this machine, you know, it's not even a machine. There's something, I don't know if it's my user setup or the fact I'm using preview version, but it seems like NuGet's slow. And I say it's not just my machine, because the old machine that died on me, which I was blaming on that because I was having problems with the machine before it died. I thought it was that. All right, so now we're ready. Let's go ahead and rename the default class it creates. We're going to call this event detail. And it's asking me if I, make sure I want to rename and rename everything associated with it, which is just this class, but it's good. All right. And then now what I want to do, here's going to be the fun part of doing this way. Let's break this from there. Let's go ahead and collapse that. Oops, let's go up that way. And I'll only bring in the other project. All right, just because I want to be able to reference what I did before, because we're going to do it similar to what we did before. All right, so again, this would be event details, and the idea here is, this is a system that can run multiple events, and we're only doing it for Code PaLOusa, but I did build it that way. I'm gonna keep it that way because maybe for some reason we'll decide to change the name. That's not gonna happen. Well, sure enough, we might call it Code PaLOusa Virtual, right? We might change that a little bit. Although we do change the year name on every year, so it's not like we never change anything. All right, so we're gonna here we got watch. I got VB code here, and I started to type property. Okay, so we're gonna have a name. I'm sorry, public string name as string, yeah. What am I doing? Public string name get set. All right, so we're gonna do that. Actually, I'm going to keep the get sets for now. Okay. I don't really need to allow this to be updated, but maybe we should. All right. The code, I really don't think we need the code anymore. Basically that was CPL, it was CPL in the last 2 digits of the year. Was what we were doing for that. I never really did end up using that. I do think we want to keep the tagline, and at least for now, I am going to make this settable. You noticed before I did not, but I'm going to allow for that. Okay, we're going to have a string about, so, some about information about the thing. Okay, I should have probably created the event status beforehand. And here you can see where I was doing. I have an event status ID, right? But to make things a little bit faster, I go ahead and grab the name right away. I do want to, let's see, do I have a class for event status in here? I probably should. Event status, yeah. So let's look at this one real quick. Probably need this, create this object in here. Just a very simple, ID name sort order, right? So it's not that hard. Actually, do I need event status? Now I think about it, I really don't need event status. There's really no purpose for it. I need the flag as to whether it's the current event. Because again, I was sort of building this to allow for multiple events and really for an event system, but I'm not going to be building that way. I'm building this for a single event, and so anyone can come and get this because it's all open source. But it really is meant to run a single event instead of a set of events. All right, so we're not going to worry about the status information. We're going to have a public string of location name. And so basically, a name. So like if we were still in persons here, the Hyatt. So it'd be like that, right? Okay, we have a location address ID. Oh, I do want that. All right, so let's go in here. Let's do address. So let's do an address. And sure enough, here's where I might start diverging. So another one of my projects I've been thinking about doing. But let me not diverge right now. Not go past that right now. Okay, so we're going to have this. Okay, now you'll notice something, right? It's looked the same like I had before. Because I have something very similar, right? They're really just different things, right? So let's do, let's go ahead and save what we got so far here. But let's go ahead and let's add a new item, and we're going to add hold on, I want to create a folder. We're going to add an interface because really these are running the same thing. So why wouldn't I do it as an interface, right? So let's add a new item interface. Not that I could have just called it class. And we're going to call this lookup type, or iLookup, right? Because that's really what it is. It's just a lookup type. So in my lookup type, create this public, and we're going to have okay. So in here, before I had an integer, now because this will be in Cosmos, right? You don't have. There's no concept of auto incrementing IDs, and the ID is actually an important construct in Cosmos, pretty much regardless of the. Well, I think regardless. I shouldn't say that because I don't do any Mongo or Cassandra. I've done some demo things so I can talk about it, but at least for SQL and for Gremlin, the ID is important. It is required. If you don't put an ID, it's going to give you an ID. So let's go ahead. And actually, this makes me think of something. Okay, well, I created this as an interface. And I actually want to do this differently. And I'm going to do this as an abstract class instead. Go ahead and delete that. And the reason is because of JSON. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead. So now I'm going to call this lookup type. And so we're going to create a public abstract class. Okay. And then we're going to have public string ID. And here I am going to, the ID will be just a getter. Okay. I have a reason for that. I'm not going to allow you to change it. Then we're going to have a public string name, and again we're going to make these read only, and public string public integer, not big int, public int sort order. Okay, so we're going to have those, and now the other things I want to do. All right, so talked about JSON. So here's one of the things about Cosmos. So Cosmos, the ID is required. Again, but if I don't specify ID, it just creates an ID for me. It'll be a GUID. But the trick is, it will not recognize that ID as the ID. The ID must be, I love it, I'm pointing to the screen, but I just ended up pointing to you. But anyway, you know, the ID, this will not be recognized as the ID for the document. Instead, it's just another property you've added in there. So what I want to do instead, I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to go in here, and I got to remember what I'm doing. I'm going to create an attribute, and it's a JSON JSON name. Hold on a second, because I'm drawing a quick link on this. Just 1 second. I gotta look at some other code here, and I'm gonna do this off stream because I actually gotta go to work code. Not that I'd be showing anything that would actually give anything away, but still. In here. Oh, actually, what I should do. Sorry, because I'm drawing a blank on the name of this attribute. Okay, well, okay, this is so silly, I can't remember the name of this attribute. So, I want the JSON name, and I'm not going to use Newtonsoft. I'm actually going to use the system.json. So if I look up system or system text.json attribute, see if I can find what I'm looking for. Property name, that's what I'm trying. I can't believe but it's still, so JSON system.text.json property name. That's what I'm looking for. And it's just property name, isn't it? Yeah. JSON property name. That's what I was looking for. All right. So if we go in here, so we go JSON property name. Oh, come on, Visual Studio work. So, and again, I don't know what's been released out yet because I use the. So Visual Studio actually has added IntelliSense that it's supposed to be looking up that property and it will even import the thing. It is not working for me right now. So let me go. I do have to go to NuGet because this. So you have there's a system text JSON. I don't want the preview version of this. Let's download that. And for those who don't know about system text.json, so this is part of 3.0. It is compatible. It's compatible pre 3.1, but you have to add the package. I don't know how far back it's compatible, but definitely with just getting in here. Okay, with .NET Standard 2, it's definitely compatible there, it basically makes lots of improvements on what Newtonsoft did for so long. And for those who are worried that Microsoft taking over Newtonsoft, killing another small publisher, the guy who does Newtonsoft works for Microsoft, right? He actually joined Microsoft, and actually he recommended you using this going forward. All right, so now let's see if I can get this. Sometimes if I, okay, nope. system text JSON. I think it's all serialization. All right. So, long story short, there we go. That's basically what I was trying to get to. Just the fact of adding that that property in there. You know, the ability to show, to change that. And sure enough, you don't really have to, I mean, you need it for that. I need the ID to show it correctly. I don't really need to do this for the others, but I prefer this. Proper JSON, is a camel case. So I prefer to make, all mine this way. Again, you don't have to do this, but it's my preference to do it that way. And really, I do recommend it because it is what JSON calls for. All right, the other thing I want to do, let's go ahead and create our comments for here. I get this also. So basically, it might be a little hard to see on the stream, but so I use GhostDoc, which is a nice application for XML documentation. It sometimes gets stuck. So let's go ahead and save. I'll go ahead and close this just in case. Go ahead and restart Visual Studio. Go into here. All right. Okay, open back up the other project. So we have that for reference. This is interesting doing it here. So I actually work on a really large 49-inch screen, which means I basically have two really large screens, all together. But now I'm scrunching it so it gets well on the stream. So it's kind of weird working it this way. Come on. Okay, come on. There we go. All right, and again, we were looking at entities, and at the moment we were looking at address type, although we're creating a abstract class for a lookup type. All right, so we're gonna have these. So now what I want to do, so in here, so summary, this is abstract or base class for lookup types within the application. Okay. So nothing that complicated, but just a description of this. So I'm adding in XML comments. All right. A lot of people don't do these. I still do these, and I can generate XML documentation off of this, which is nice. It also will show up in IntelliSense, which is nice to see. And then, like I said, I use GhostDoc, which is an extension to Visual Studio, and it actually does a pretty decent job of creating this. And actually, I need to add some settings, but I usually do this. So as the value, I would say a string representing the identifier for the lookup type. I usually, which is very similar to how Microsoft documents this stuff. All right, so gets the name of the, it just gets the name. And then we'll say, string representing the name. And then keep it as generic because this is an abstract class, right? So it gets the sort order, and int representing the sort order of the item within the complete list. Okay. So there will be our abstract class, at least at this point. I mean, right now, we're doing this very base at this point. All right. So now we have that. Now I'll create my address type. And really, all this needs to do, create this public, and now lookup type. That's really it. That's all we need to do, which is nice for the moment. We'll need to add some more stuff in here later. Represents an address lookup type. Okay. This and my XML documentation always makes complete sense, or very helpful, I should say. It makes sense, but there we go. All right, now I'll go back to event detail. Not back to event detail. Now I want my address object in here. I don't know if I really need to look at this here, but so we're gonna go in here. Now go back here. We're gonna create any other types I need here. No, because I'm gonna do the country and the state a little bit different for now than what we'll end up with in the end. We're gonna do it very simple at the moment. So we'll go in here. Now we're gonna have an address. Public. And all right, so this is gonna have a public string ID get set. I think I'm gonna probably take those sets out, but I'm gonna leave them in for the moment. Public address type get set. Well, actually, what I want, public string address type ID get set, and then a public address type get set. Oh, address type get set. Okay. So again, I'm not going to do this for right now, but you know what I was doing previously was I would grab it from SQL right away. That way I'd have to go to SQL multiple times. I'm not going to add this stuff in just yet because I want to see. No, I am going to do that. Because this is actually, it's funny, I was doing that with a SQL database, but this is actually good practice in a document database, is to, whether it be SQL or Gremlin, is to actually have, well, no, because we got the address type in here. Never mind. I don't need that. Because I'm gonna bring over the address type. Oh, because before I wasn't bringing over yeah, I was. Yeah. All right. Oh, because before, I think what I was doing, I had as a read only, and I would get it if you requested it. That's what I was doing before. So basically I was doing lazy loading. I was just coding myself. I wasn't using any framework to do that for me. All right, anyway, so we're gonna have our address type. We're gonna have a public string address, address line 1. Public string address line 2. I don't think I've ever used an address line 3, so I'm not going to put it in here. Okay, city. And then now, so country divisions, or so states, right? If you look at bigger, it's more of a division instead of just a state. So here's the thing. I'm not going to use IDs. I'm just going to put the names in here for now. But later on, I'm going to do something. We're going to add some more to this later on. I had a project I started working on, and I probably as part of building out Code PaLOusa, I'm going to probably finish it up on the stream of a lookup, utility for all the countries and their divisions. I'm actually pretty darn close for that. I just need to finish it. All right, so at any rate, so right now we're just gonna have a public string country division and a public string of country, public string postal code, and then a public boolean is deleted. And here, I'm definitely going to make this a get. I want you to go through a process to delete it. I don't want you to just set that flag. I want you to delete it because maybe we're going to have to have some rules based upon it. Let me get some water. Throat's starting to dry out here. All right. Excuse me. All right. So there we've got our address class. Now let's go ahead and document this. Represents a postal address. And you know what? Let's actually call this postal address. Really should have done here so it. Sure. Yeah, I know. Because there was nothing for you to change. So yeah. Let's actually call it postal address. Actually makes it a little bit better defined. All right, so we're gonna have ID. Okay, so then we need our. See, here's what I was talking about before. So now you can start seeing, so if I go ahead and click on here, not only that, not only fill that, it added that using statement ID, which is really cool. Again, maybe that's now more widely available. I mean, I started seeing this in previews like 2 or 3 previews ago, and I'm really enjoying it. All right, so we got it like that. JSON property name, and we're gonna address type ID, address type. Oops. JSON property name. What was that? Address line 1. Oops. I spent more time trying to copy and paste that than if I just typed it. JSON property name, city. JSON property name, country division. JSON property name, country. JSON property name, postal code, and JSON property name is fleet. Okay, so we've done that. Then I do want to add my documentation. Gets a census identifier of the postal address document. I just say the postal address, and then we would say represents the string representing the identifier of the postal address of the document storing the postal address. That's really what it is. All right, then here we're on address type, so this is going to be address type ID. This is sets the address type identifier. See, that's part about GhostDoc. GhostDoc actually gets pretty darn close. And again, I need to reset my settings, and there's but I have to look them up. I can actually here I can, if I go to GhostDoc, this is pretty cool. Again, if you want to go to this level of documenting things, and I think you should. But if you go to options, one of the cool parts in here, I mean, I've got a lot of different rules I can go in here, but I can also go in here in the rules, so you can see I can add, you know, I mean, if I just go to edit this, you can see it's kind of defining how this is. So I actually can add that up, but I don't remember off the top of my head how I had it. I mean, I know how the output, but the syntax to get that output. So I'll do that later on. Again, this is a brand new machine I built not too long ago. All right, so a string representing the identifier of the do I not have this spelled right? Identifier. I need spell checking in my codes. I typo a lot. Identifier of the type of address represent document represent. Again, not the best description, but it does tell what it is. All right, gets the type of address, a address type. Oops. You know, I'm thinking about this. I've always done this where I've had the C reference. Do I really need that? No. This really should be a C of string. That does not add anything. But to address type, it does. All right. Representing the type of address. And by type of address, I'm looking for company, personal, that type of thing. All right. Address line 1 gets the first line of the address, of the street address. And then here, let's see, string representing the street address, first line of the street address. Sometimes these descriptions are different than the top description. Sometimes they're the same. And I am just going to copy this, paste it there, second times it 1228. Okay. I do have a 1 o'clock meeting, so I do need to make sure. So every Wednesday at 1 o'clock, the extended leadership of ScholarX, the company I work for, we get together, have a longer meeting to discuss important things. So I need to make sure I remember to get off in time for that. All right, gets or sets the city where the address is located. Whoops. See, I've been doing that for so long, but really it makes more sense, I think, doing it this way. So string representing the city where the address is located. So it's the country where the address located. And a string representing country where the address is located. Okay. set the postal code for the address. And then here we'll have string representing the address postal code. And then finally, yeah, see here's awesome, right? Gets a value indicating whether this instance is deleted. I mean, it actually is pretty darn smart getting that true if this instance is deleted, otherwise false. Really nice, yeah. Adds that kind of documentation there for me. All right, I don't know what I just did. Just want to close that. All right, so now we have postal address done. Now I'll go back to event details and event. Yeah, after all the email stuff, that detail. All right. And here we're going to have okay, public string location address ID. And again, we're going to have a public string location. So, not string, postal address. Now it's kind of funny. I'm actually thinking in my head, I'm gonna have to change this here once I Gremlify this. But this is a good way to get this started, especially because I need to actually read some documentation of that project or that package I was talking about. So point being is I'm creating it this way, but I actually gonna have to make some changes because so in Gremlin. Or in graph databases, basically this location, basically what I end up doing, so I'll, it's a related object, and I'll have an edge in between this. And so really what I need is something that represents that. But for now, we're gonna keep it a very simple entity, and then we'll make those changes soon, and before we really get into code. All right. So we're going to keep, and that's why I'm also still keeping getting setters, because again, some of this is still me thinking this through here. All right, so now the next set of fields I have here are dates. And these dates are pretty important, but we really should do this differently. Because they're basically hard-coded, right? The call for proposals. And some of this, sure enough, was in here to run like the call for proposals, because the CFP would open that day, would close that day, right? Whereas here, I don't really need that to be the same way. So definitely, I don't need all these dates the same way, that's for sure. All right, so that's just okay. All right, so getting back to this, so we'll have a date time. We do want an event start date time. Why do I call it event? Let's call it start date time. Spell date correctly. And then public date time, end date time. But even here, I'm thinking of changing this a little bit too. Because here's the thing, and this is really common with a lot of places that do events, like events, right? They'll have a start date time. So like 8 a.m. or 8:30, August 19, and then the end date would be 8 p.m. or whatever. I gotta figure out what time we're actually ending this. Normally it's around 8 p.m. On the August 21. We normally do a social for women in tech on our final evening. I don't know what we're gonna do about that. I still got to work that out. But anyway, back to this code. It's really common to just have those two dates. I mean, like everything does this, right? And the problem with that is it's just consecutive during that period of time, right? So 24-hour periods, which so in essence it makes the event look like it's running for, well, it's not 72 hours, but what, 64 hours or what have you. which is not, I mean, it's obviously, or 60 hours, whatever it is. It's obviously not the case. So I might, let's add a to-do. Look at changing the start, or look at having start and ends for each day. Right? So maybe another class of event day. Maybe I'm kind of answering this already as I go. Yeah, so let's do this. I am kind of already answering what I want to do. So instead of start date time, let's have start date and start time, or start end date. Okay. And so let's do that. And then now let's go and create another class. Class. And we're going to call it event day. And in here, so we'll have public class event day, and we're going to have a public date time. I really do wish they would add a date time or date value, but of event of day. Date, yeah, it's called date. Get set. We're going to have a public. Here's where I really wish there was a time. There's a time span. That's not really what I want. Yeah, I think what we'll do, create this as an integer. Oh, there's a time offset. Right? Isn't there not a time offset? Daytime offset. Here, just do that for a second. Let me make sure this is what I think this is. Hello, documentation. Hit F1 again. All right, I don't know why my documentation isn't coming up. Just do this. Oh, it did open up. It just, the browser didn't take over. Represents a point in time, typically expressed as a date and time of day relative to universal. Oh, okay. Yeah, this isn't what I'm looking for. Okay, so that's fine. Let's just go ahead and store this. And now that reminds me what that is, and that makes sense. Let's go ahead and public int start time. Now, how do we do this? Start time offset. Public int public date time start time. Okay, and what I'm going to do is I'm going to store this in the database, right? But we'll convert it to that when we grab it, right? Public, which really, so this definitely is a read only. So public date time, or public int end time offset, and then public date time get end time get. Okay, and then the other thing I like to do in here, public string title. So give the date a title. So for example, in Code PaLOusa, we're 3 days. Our first day is workshop day. All right. So that would be the title, workshops. Yeah, they're 2 days or our sessions, breakout sessions. Probably, but I could probably even say, like in the first day, breakout sessions and keynote, right? So, all right. So yeah, that defines that. Again, some work to be done, to build it, but we're going to stick with that. Create our documentation here real quick. So, represents or provides information about an event day. Okay. Oh, and I should have. Okay, let's go ahead. We do need a string, an ID in here. Okay, so it gets the identifier of the event event day of the document. A string representing the document identifier. Okay, and then the date of the event day. Date time. Oops. The date of the event day. So, all right, gets the start time offset. Okay, so we're going to keep it like that. Integer representing the time offset for the start of the day. Okay, now we're going to have remarks in here, and because again, I'm trying to create documentation that so someone who hasn't used this package can understand what's going on here. So in the remarks, we're going to say the offset is the number of minutes. I don't really need to do seconds. So all we need to that detail. I think number of minutes since midnight of the date. See date. And we'll reference, we will point back to that date property. All right, and then start time of the day. And here we'll say a date time that represents the start of the day. Really still that simple. Okay, I'm gonna go ahead and copy this, paste it here. Just change this to end and end. Okay, and then we'll copy this and end and end. And okay, then title for the day. A string representing the title of the day. Yeah, for the day. All right, and then go ahead and add my whatchamacallit, my properties or my JSON stuff. So it's the ID. This is date. JSON property name. This will start time offset. Start time. This is end time offset. And yeah, I really should be better about putting these in as I type the code. I don't know, just for some reason, this is kind of stuck in me. It probably would save me time if I do it at the time I write the method. And if you hear my dog barking, I apologize for that. That means he's excited to go out. Sure enough, my daughter's been cooped up in the house for, pretty much this whole time on quarantine. Well, not the whole time, because she stayed in Boston for a little bit. But she did come back, and she finished her last final yesterday. And, like yesterday afternoon, she's like, I gotta go and get a book or something, right? So she went to the store to get a book. And today she's telling me she's gonna go and get coffee. She's like, I need coffee. And I'm like, all right, go for it. She's going to take the dog with her to go get coffee. And he obviously knows that now. All right. And that's if you still hear him barking, that's him telling me, hurry up, I'm ready to go. All right, 12:46. All right, so we still got a couple more minutes before I need to close up for the day for this. All right. So back in here. So I have my start and end date. Now what I'm going to add in here, I'm going to add a list of event day. All those event days. And sure enough, it's just going to I will tell you, I know for a fact if I leave it in here and once I compile this, I will get a warning on that. So one of the things, it does tell you it really should be a read only, unless you really are wanting them to be able to override the whole list. I'm going to do that. And sure enough, what I normally also do is I also go ahead and initialize it right there. All right, so we're going to have that. What other things we have in here? So these other dates, at least for right now, I'm not going to do these. I need to think about these. We definitely are not going to need it for the first release because call for proposals are already done. I do like having like a CFP date, start and end date, but I'm not going to put it in there for right now. I'm not going to put it in schedule released. I will have a boolean you know what? I'm going to put it here. So the schedule release. So basically, this is a flag to let me know if I should show the schedule. Do I do it here or do I do it as a feature flag? I'm going to do it here for right now. We might change this. Boolean schedule released. Okay. Yeah, we'll need that. Public string registration site URL. And then is current event. Why? Oh, okay. Yeah, it wants me to create this URI. I still prefer to create them as strings, but I don't fight it. And then we're going to create a public string or public boolean of is current event. Okay. So just a real simple set of flags there. All right. Let's go ahead and create my comments here real quick. So represents the details. I don't know what all the noise are making outside my door. Events represents the details of an event. Okay. And we're going to have name of the event. A string name representing the name of the event. And actually, I'm not gonna finish documents right now because it's 12:50. I do need to go ahead and close up for the day and like I say, prep, get set up for my 1 o'clock meeting. So let's go ahead and stop at that point. But I will check in code. So let me, okay. Where did my get thing go? There it is. Get. And all right, so creating initial entity classes, all objects, just be. So we're gonna go ahead and commit all that, and I'll push it to, I'll sync it up to that. Oh, and I'm gonna be asked to log in. I will do that. I'll do that right here. I'll do it right after the call, or right after I get off the stream, because I gotta look at my password. I don't know the password off the top of my head. So with that, let's go here. Let's also see if I got this working right. There we go. I want to thank everyone. So sure enough, it's still, I still need to work on my credits here. Definitely want to thank Sandeep for joining in and becoming a follower. Definitely, we'll be talking to Sandeep sometime soon because he will be. I don't know if he's confirmed yet, but I definitely did select him for Code PaLOusa. One of the things, I haven't talked about this yet, but one of the things I want to do, and I'm going to start talking to folks. I actually do want to. We'll spend some of these days interviewing upcoming speakers, right? So we have some really great speakers that are people that are speaking at Code PaLOusa. I would love to have some sessions where we're interviewing them, and so definitely want to do that. So with that, other than that, I hope everyone has an awesome day. Definitely feel free. If you have any comments, reach out to me. We're Tail Code everywhere. If you want to email me, it's chad.green@taillearncode.com, or you can just email me at chadgreen@chadgreen.com. They all come to Outlook, so it doesn't really matter. But anyway, lots of different ways how you can definitely reach out to me. Whether it be Twitter or email or what have you. And then one last thing, the videos are being archived. They're archived on Twitch, but Twitch only keeps, I think, 14 days. I think that's what it is. I am moving everything to YouTube, right? So the first 2 days are loading on there. So sure enough, if we go to, I'm not sharing the screen anymore, but if you search for Tail Learn Code, you should find my the new Tail Learn Code channel. Still setting that up, but I do at least have the 2 videos up in there, and I will get this video up on there. Probably later today. So great. Well, again, thank you, everyone. Let's go ahead and look for a stream to raid. Who we got going live? All right. Oh, what is? I see Microsoft Developer is got something going on right now. Oh, okay. Let's go to this. Let's go ahead and raid Microsoft Developer. They're talking about cognitive services to create art, so that should be pretty cool. Sure enough, I mean, Microsoft themselves are streaming on here, so although it's interesting, this is pretty early for them. They're normally doing this later in the day, like early evenings. Microsoft Developer. Okay. So those who are still watching, we'll move over to Microsoft Developer. Other than that, I hope everyone has an awesome day. See y'all.